Hi, I'm Julie Walton,
Hi, Julie.
Devin Cope, Sean Sutherland, and we are CyberIQ. Our vision is to enable teens everywhere to establish safe, lifelong online habits. So the problem that we came across is that not just teens, but so many people do not know how to stay safe online. And as we were doing some of our preliminary research, we came across some startling statistics, especially about teenagers, and that's why we decided to focus our security efforts, our security education efforts on teenagers. 55% of teens say they give little or no thought to the consequences of what they post online. And while 49% of parents think their teens know how to deal with uncomfortable content, fewer than 1/3 of teens agree. Now, with 25 million teens across the US, that's over 8 million teenagers that are uncomfortable with what they are posting online. They don't necessarily feel safe, and yet they don't really know what to do about it, and that's where we come in. There are currently other websites that exist that are targeted towards both young children up through adults, trying to teach people how to stay safe online. But not any of them address this specific niche of just teenagers, and teenagers in a way that can be digestible, that is fun, interactive, and lets teens learn without going either too in-depth. There are some sites that are really technical, that cover like white paper type content, and others that are really broad, that just barely skim the surface. That's where we decided to build our own site. We were originally planning on partnering with another organization, but after reaching out, they never really got back to us, and we decided, all right, well, we'll just build our own. And this was our original site, so this is like the default 2014 WordPress template. And after applying for a small micro grant through here at BYU, we were able to acquire some funding and update our site, so now it looks a lot more savvy. And so we've been working on that all semester long. We have received over 190 hours of volunteer service through other people in our program, through the Association for Information Systems. Many people donated their time to help make the site, develop the content that we were using on the site. We've also been published in BYU's Daily Universe, the newspaper that is around here, and KSL Radio did a spot on us, a radio spot several weeks ago, and that day on our site we had over 4,000 hits, and that was really exciting for us to just see this spike in traffic. And since then, there's been a pretty steady stream of between 50 and 100 views on the site almost every day, and so that was a huge thing for us. And we also were mentioned in another KSL program. There's a radio program also called the Browsers, and they go around and to people. They've been doing things at local high schools. They've been broadcasting from there and teaching people, talking to parents directly from these sites how to stay safe. And they did about a 5-minute plug on us, and so that's been a really big help to get the word out there on what we're doing.
So hopefully a lot of you have seen the site, but we're going to go ahead and take a look. This is the homepage. I'm actually just going to jump over into the web browser. And so here's the site itself, and like you can see, we have our main topics and then different subtopics in each of those for different security topics. And then as well, I'll come back to this later, but also a training materials section. So we kind of, partway through the semester, found that we liked organizing the content into courses where it was these very small, digestible chunks, but then educators wanted to be able to use this more as a resource than as a learning material, right? Like there's two different use cases here. And so when you start one of these mini courses, you can click through and see, again, digestible content, and come down here, and all of our courses are organized in a similar way with description, how does this affect me, how do I protect myself, things to remember, kind of a wrap-up. And then there was a final article there that had everything, but that was kind of buried. So for somebody to come in as an educator would be to click on the content, then on the article, and then into the content, and then to see the article. So this has actually been a really awesome resource for people walking through to learn it. And then, like I mentioned here, we have this training materials section where we're able to aggregate everything in one section. So this is an additional resource people have as educators. And then if you were to come in and look at public computers, for example, then you have an entire article there about it. And as Julie mentioned, this is a hot topic. There are a lot of security articles, a lot of security sites out right now. And so we wanted to create a one-stop shop where people could come in and get a comprehensive yet digestible article or course about a topic, but also we want to be able to guide them to other places. So educators, for example, they would be able to go to extra resources and dive in deeper on the topic. And then they'd also be able to see anything that we had cited for statistics and things like that to be able to know how recent it is and add that to their own content. So I have right here as well an example of one of our PowerPoints that we have posted up there. They're pretty basic. It hits a lot of the main topics, and the idea is that this is customizable. And so as we went through this whole thing, realizing that this isn't going to be the very most comprehensive or the most up-to-date resource on a topic, we wanted this to be very modular and very customizable. Modular in that an educator or a parent or a student or somebody can come in and look at specific topics, and then customizable in that as they go through and use these materials in their own courses, that they're able to modify them and make them specific to the needs of their students. And so this has kind of been an evolving process, and we'll talk a little bit more about things we learned here in a little while, but just in evolving it to make sure to hit several audiences, that even though parents, for example, or we've really targeted educators, every time we talk to parents about this, they're the ones who seem to get really excited, and so being able to hit multiple channels there was really important to us. Let's get back in here. So again, hitting both sides of that. Dive into some more of this.
Great. Okay, so some of the lessons we learned while doing this project, we learned that everything has a learning curve. At the beginning, we weren't quite sure what web platform we wanted to use to create the website. We kind of messed around with the idea of creating our own custom website. We looked into Drupal. We ended up using WordPress. As you guys saw at the beginning, we were using a default theme, but it looks a lot better now thanks to a micro grant. But we learned that everything has a learning curve. We actually spent 6 hours the day that we got our template trying to create content and couldn't get it to work the way we wanted. So that's actually part of our future plans. This isn't the final product. We learned that promoting it takes a lot of time, but it's well worth it. As you guys saw, we were able to get featured in the Daily Universe on KSL, and that really helped. It helped get the word out there. We actually had people emailing us in and saying, hey, I've been looking for something like this for a while, thank you, or can you come and do a presentation in our ward or community group? So that's been really great. A lot of our time has been spent on the details. So once we got our new website up with the template, we were actually able to get a lot of the articles up in about a week. But since then, we've been going back and tweaking things, how they work, how they were laid out, editing the content to make sure that it was worded correctly, things like that. And so most of our time, well, a lot of it did go into creating the website. A lot of it has been in the details, fine-tuning it and making sure that it's really what we want it to be. Another thing we learned is that our targeted audience may not be the most receptive audience. So at the very beginning, we were really pushing to kind of our main channel to be through educators and through school districts. And while a lot of school districts have been excited, we realized that the people who really grasped onto this have been the parents. And so, we're still targeting teens, but we want to teach the parents so that they can teach their teens. Eventually, we want to get to a point where we actually have teens teaching teens, and so they're a little more receptive to what is being taught. But again, that's a future iteration. And then last thing, we learned that it's really easy to receive vocal support. There were a lot of people who were just like, oh my gosh, that's so great. But actually getting people to commit and contribute or do actionable results, it's a lot harder. And so, we really had to step it up, and if someone was really interested, make sure that we gave them actionable items that they were willing to help with. So, the future, Sean, Julie, and I are going to continue to work on the site. Hillary Hayes and Maria Yacaman have agreed to do CyberIQ as their capstone for next year, so we'll be kind of in conjunction with them continuing with this. Later this week, we hope to have kind of a roadmap up on the site which will say, hey, this is what we're currently working on with CyberIQ. here are some features that are going to be added soon, and then long-term goal, this is what we plan on adding. And so we have a list of those things that, anyone can go on and say, I really feel like it needs this. They can go and look and say, oh, yeah, it's coming soon. They already know that. They're working on it. Dr. Vance has also toyed around the idea of kind of meshing it into a security class, maybe some blog posts, or just helping with keeping the content current. And that's basically our website. That's CyberIQ.